What up, folks, and welcome to the Kyber Culture, episode 103, with myself, I was about to say with myself, Joe, but with myself, the Depocalorian, John Doerr, and Beham. On the docket today, we'll just be discussing episodes 4 through 7 of ANDOR, so stick around for our chat. Make sure to follow the Kyber Culture on YouTube and TikTok, as well as our other socials like Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Check the links in the description. It's all there. And if you like what you're listening to, please consider leaving a rating wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify or Apple. We really appreciate it. But anywho, I actually want to start with this. Brian, you weren't here when Aaron and I talked about episodes 1 through 3. So do you have any general thoughts when you started when they dropped the first 3 episodes? Do you have any general thoughts on after seeing those?
I liked the first 3 episodes. It was I was like, okay, I really enjoy this timeline. I hope it's not just on this one planet. I hope Andor gets off this planet and it's about him joining the rebellion. And so I was kind of left at the end of episode 3 being like, okay, what's going to happen? Is he actually going to do something? And I was very satisfied with what we have so far through 4 through 7. But yeah, the first 3 were great. I thought it did a really good job of kind of introducing us to the character and his backstory and why he feels kind of which is why he's such a loner and is just kind of trying to survive. So I think it's cool. I think they did a really good job of showing how the Empire closed its fist around planets and systems. Yeah, I really am enjoying it so far. And I think the first 3 episodes were a great intro. I think they probably could have done it in in one episode, but I'm so glad that they actually took the time to set up the series with this first arc. I feel the show is going in arcs, which is I think awesome. 3 episode arcs in a show just makes so much sense. Really helps with the pacing. I feel episode 6 could have been a season finale, but I'm so glad that that's halfway through the season, Yeah, I don't feel there's any filler, which is great.
No, and I definitely agree with you. It's a good introduction to the world, and what you said about the Empire, it kind of feels the state of everybody right now just feels the Empire is ruling, and all the people just kind of feel okay, well, we're just going to work through it, and there's nothing we can do about it. Everyone's just trying to live their life. And I thought that was really cool. I don't know if Aaron and I talked about that in episodes 1 through 3, but yeah, that feels the state of the galaxy. Everything's just even the way that the show looks and the way it's shot, it's this is something that we did talk about, but everything is everything looks dull, everything is gray. And something that Aaron said was the fact that hope just feels completely sucked out of the universe. There's no presence of hope, there's no presence of the Force or anything like that. Everything just feels hopeless and very depressing. So it's
that's a good point.
It feels of course it's gonna feel that way. You know what I mean? It totally makes sense. But yeah, so
very Nazi Germany vibes for sure.
And I think that's super cool. Even though it is super sad, it's awesome. Okay, so good to hear your thoughts on the first 3 episodes, Beham. But let's talk episode 4. We're talking episodes 4 through 7, but we're going to go episode by episode here. So my initial thoughts, and Brian, you already talked about this. I just like how the show, you said exactly this, actually. The show is set up in 3 episode arcs. So episodes 1 through 3, I would say that's the Morlana and the Ferrix arc. And I feel each arc, each 3 episode arc is going to vary by planet, which is also very fun. Episodes 1 through 3 is Morlana and Ferrix. Episodes 4 through 6, which we're about to get into, is the Aldani arc. And then episode 7, what's the name of this planet? I forget. It's we'll talk about it in a little bit, but we're going to talk about the tourism planet. It seems like he went to Florida on vacation.
It's Cabo, dude.
Yeah, he went to Cabo. But anyways, let's talk about the Aldani arc. I guess general thoughts. Let's just kind of shoot the shit about episode 4. I did find episodes 4 and 5 to be a little slower. Episode 6 just absolutely pops off. starting off like Luthen gives Andor a new mission or a new heist, and something that really I think this is a really well written show. I think the dialogue is great. Like something that Luthen says to Andor, because they keep going back and forth about like, oh, like you're part of the Alliance or you're part of this like other like guerrilla group. They're all the same thing to me. He's like, all right, well, I'm here to tell you this is like I'm actually part of something and I'm starting something up that's like real. Like, wouldn't you rather give it all to something real? And I think that was like one of the key things for Andor to hear, so that he actually gets thrown into the shit. So wouldn't you rather give it all to something real? All-time line for the show. I feel like it really pushes the narrative forward. But let's see, what else do I like about this? I love being back on Coruscant. Coruscant's fucking sick. Love life on Coruscant. Everything looks so clean, but also just like looks so dull. Like me and Aaron mentioned, like in episodes 1 through 3, everything looks so sad and depressing on Coruscant.
Blue noodles, blue cereal, dude.
Yeah, like everyone's just trying to like live life normally. Like the Empire has its grasp on everyone. It's just like, oh, this is normal life now, and everything's just going on like whatever the fuck, you know. And everything just feels dystopian and depressing, and I think that fits so well with like this time period that we're in. Cinematography, again, I always say the cinematography in like Rogue One and this is always fantastic. I also love seeing we have another Game of Thrones alum. Did you guys notice that? Another Game of Thrones alum.
Oh yeah, off the bat.
Yeah.
off the bat. Sorry, straight off the bat.
Yeah, it's fucking Kyber, dude, and I love seeing like another like he just plays an Imperial officer so well. I feel like
fucking good.
I feel like
so good.
Any of the villains from Game of Thrones all play great Imperial folks. You know, it just fits. But yeah, like also all the locations, like when we actually get to Aldhani, like Aldhani is just gorgeous. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is where they shot most of everything on location, and all the places just looks fucking gorgeous. Let's see what else. We got a Kyber crystal in this. You guys catch the Kyber crystal in episode 4.
Partial. It's kind of like partial Kyber crystal.
Yeah, no, and like what Luthen or how Luthen described it was like a Kyber crystal from like the times of like the Rakatan something. A little like nod to the Old Republic, which is kind of cool. But I love that like Luthen referred to this Kyber crystal. It's worth like 50,000 credits. And Luthen gave him this Kyber crystal as like a quote-unquote down payment for the mission or the heist that he's about to put him on. Of course, like I had to think of Knights of the Old Republic because I've been selling like that's the way I made credits. You know, I would sell Kyber crystals to fucking everybody. Hit that X button. I'm gonna sell it. Say less. You know, I love that because like I thought about how like in Rogue One, Jyn has a Kyber crystal herself. And in this, like, Cassian has his own Kyber crystal, but they are for two completely different purposes for different reasons. Jyn literally has it because, like, it has, like, sentimental value. And Cassian's like, oh, well.
It's his actual value.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
monetary value.
He's like, oh, well, if Luthen fucks me over, I'm going to just flip this for some cash, you know?
Well, Luthen knew that.
Yeah, Luthen knew that, and I think that just like speaks to like the state of the galaxy at this point. It's kind of like it's you or me type situation. It makes sense. But yeah, what did you guys let me flip it over to you guys. What did you guys think about episode 4? Aaron, let's go with you first.
Yeah, man, I think Kyber is my highlight, honestly, of episode 4. Like him being like a very high-ranking Imperial Security Bureau officer is just. It's so good, especially as the show goes on. Like, he just gets better and better. It was also really cool to see, like, Luthen's, like, kind of alter ego, or, like, what his cover is.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of, like, this purveyor of, like, you know, rare artifacts. They're probably not even that rare. He's probably just, like, scamming people, but that's not his main purpose. Like, it's for him to have, like... Or maybe that's what he was doing before he decided to become the beginning of the rebellion. Definitely... 2 of my highlights.
Well, let's stick on this for a little bit because I definitely had a thought on this. Luthen the fucking con man, dude.
Yeah, dude. Puts the wig on.
Yeah, no, this was probably one of my favorite parts of this episode was like when he was getting ready to become this like salesman or like the dude that flips the
it's like an actor, dude.
Yeah, no, he he like this salesman of like exotic or rare goods. He puts on the wig, he puts on all the jewelry, and like even after he does all that, one of my favorite parts of it is just like, and shouts out to fucking Stellan Skarsgård for this, but like the way he just like he practices and rehearses having to be this like shady salesman, you know, like he like puts on like this smile and he's like, all right, I'm in, I'm good to go. I just thought that was so cool. And but not only that, not only is Luthen just being super sick in this, the stuff in the store definitely caught my eye. Like, I don't know if the stuff in the store is fake. You know, there's definitely stuff in there that they like the creators put there for like Easter eggs. And I think I wouldn't say that any of this stuff is fake. I would say like this stuff has actual value for it. But like, you know, in the store you definitely see a set of Mandalorian armor, which is cool. But if you guys like, have either of you guys played the Force Unleashed games?
Mm-hmm. It's been a while, and I don't remember a lot, but I have.
Okay, so there is a set of armor there that is worn by Starkiller. It's in the background, but it's a set of armor that he wears, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. It was like a set of armor from the game, and just made me think like, okay, fuck it. In Rebels, I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now, but in Rebels, Darth Maul is voiced by Sam Witwer.
And he's Starkiller, right?
Sam Witwer is Starkiller. So I'm like, fuck it. Bring in Sam Witwer as Starkiller, bro. I'm fucking here for it. Let's get all the video game Jedi into the Star Wars universe. Let's get a crossover with fucking Starkiller and Cal Kestis. That would be fucking sick. But no, I loved seeing that little Easter egg. And yeah, no, it was just fucking awesome. And this whole scene, like, we get to fucking meet Mon Mothma. And yeah, but Aaron, go ahead. What else? Yeah.
Pulling up in the motherfucking Rolls Royce, dude. Like, looking so sick. Yeah, I mean, just this whole, like, the idea that you have of Luthen just totally gets flipped upside down, you know? Because you kind of just get this feeling he's this under rogue kind of, like, he has a lot of power, but you don't know, like, where the power's coming from. And I'm just very curious to see, like, how Luthen and Mon Mothma even got together in the first place, you know, because they don't.
Right. They already had a working relationship.
Yeah, and it's kind of like maybe in the beginning of that working relationship, even if they don't explain that. I mean, I'm not gonna be mad about it, but no, it's super cool to see them interact, and they go, oh yeah, like, I can show you something for your husband, and I didn't even know Mon Mothma was married.
In the back room.
yeah. I was showing you the back room. I'm like, all right, what's gonna happen here? And they totally break character. They go into like their primary roles, and you're like, dude, this is some shit. This is some dope Star Wars shit right here.
Yeah, no, I love the meeting between, like, oh man, the level of secrecy that they have to keep, like, even in front of Mon Mothma's driver, you know, it's just so cool, and it just feels so heavy, and like the stakes feel high.
Eyes are everywhere.
Yeah, eyes are everywhere.
Espionage.
Yeah. Like, but Brian, any thoughts on episode 4 or anything that like me and Aaron touched on real quick that you have any thoughts on?
I really liked the Easter eggs in the shop, of course. Like, there are some cool ones, like, what's it called? The Twi'lek Calicori? There's one of those in there.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, there was, like, the stone symbols from, like, the hand from, like, the brother, the mother, the sister,
son, the daughter,
father.
and the father, yeah.
Like, the mortis symbols.
Did not catch those. I need to look for those.
Those are cool. And then he has holocrons in the back shelf. There's a Sith and a Jedi holocron. Now, like, there's no way those are real, but it was cool to see those. But I think one of the coolest things about being back on Coruscant was seeing, I think it was this episode where you get Cyril Karn, him going home, and it's like, you see that he's just, like, going down and down and down and down and down, and you're just like, oh, shit. Like, if you know, like, the lower you are in Coruscant, the poorer you are. And so just, like, seeing him just, like, sinking literally and figuratively down to the depths of Coruscant to, like, this shit life. That was
His
cool.
His mom is ridiculous.
So ridiculous.
Crazy.
But I'm excited to see, like, kind of what happens to how he gets kind of pulled back into the storyline. But great transition episode into this arc. And then Cassian showing up on the planet, and does he meets the crew in this episode, right? Or is it the next episode?
It's this episode where he first meets the crew.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Like all his conversations with them and that whole crew being like, we've been here for months eating this shit, and he's just like, fuck your shit, I'm not drinking this like goat's piss. Like, so I thought that
high class.
Yeah, I thought it was really really good like storytelling. Just seeing how he gets thrown in and how they respond to him. So yeah, I really liked this episode.
Anything about Mon Mothma or the
Yeah,
conversation between Luthen and Mon Mothma?
Well, I'm excited that she's in it. I think it's cool. I didn't expect us to get this kind of like broader view of the beginning of the rebellion. I thought it was going to be him just like trying to piece it together, and that's all we were going to get, is him like kind of getting sucked into it. But the fact that we're getting the perspective of Mon Mothma and Luthen is very satisfying to me, and I'm very excited to see more of in this show, because it's like Mon Mothma's connected to all the other characters, so it opens the door, cameos galore. So I'm just excited for who else we might see, maybe in like a season finale. Yeah, could be interesting. Like, I'm assuming we'll probably see Saw Gerrera maybe at some point. But
Oh yeah, he'll for sure be in this season, because like, I mean, he was in trailers. He'll be in this season for sure. But yeah, no, I think Mon Mothma, like, not only is the rebellion like being fought like on the ground, but I think Mon Mothma adds like this level of like she holds like political power, like something
backing.
Yeah, the financial backing, and that's like just another like layer of it, which is super interesting to me. And not only did we meet Mon Mothma, but you know, we also go back home with her, and we meet her husband, and like she has like a family and stuff. But it kind of seems like her husband is kind of seems like he's down with the Empire to me. So I'm curious to see how all that plays out. I loved episode 4. I love like being introduced to this shaky team of rebels. I'll get into more thoughts on the state of the rebellion as it is like right now in this show. But I definitely feel like Luthen is very like calculative. I don't know if even that's a word, but he's very calculating, and he knew this team wouldn't do well unless Cassian was there, and he knew that they needed like one extra person. Also, like, this group of rebels is like just a tough group of individuals. Like, they don't trust anybody, and like them holding blasters that look like AK-47s was kind of hard. Honestly, I was like, never seen blasters that look like this. You know, I just thought it was super cool. I also feel like this show so far is introducing like some anxiety from TIE fighters that I'd never felt before.
So
like
good.
it's
So
just
good.
it's just one lone TIE fighter that is like flying through, and it's like, fuck, like if they slip up just a little bit, like they're screwed.
And they look and sound so good in this.
They're great.
Such a good job.
I mean, I thought we got peak TIE Fighter in the sequel trilogy, but nah, man, this is
like
TIE
this
Fighter.
Yeah, no, because it feels like more like the TIE fighters feel more dangerous. You know,
It's kind of like how in, I think it's the 3rd or 4th episode of the first season of The Mandalorian, where you got the ATT Walker. Like the gravity of having that there was just like, oh man, like
it's like
holy shit, the power.
Like one of these walkers will and can take out like an entire village. And like they don't need what do you got? What is it? ISB, right? Yeah, they don't need that whole thing. Like, this thing will wipe out loads of people. And I think they're like they want to do that with the TIE fighters. Like, they want to make them seem menacing, and I think the show is doing that really well. But you know, the episode also ends. It's like they're talking about the Eye of Aldani. Honestly, once we talk about episodes, the eye is fucking insane.
So cool.
And they also talk about, you know, the plan of the heist, and Cassian's like, oh no, you guys barely have it figured out. But yeah, that's how the episode ends. Any other thoughts on episode 4?
I mean, kind of to what Brian was saying, I'm actually, as the show progressed, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but Karn is his character development is kind of piquing my interest a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Seeing what's
yeah.
gonna happen with him. I mean, even in this episode, knowing what happened to him in the first 3 episodes, how he just kind of got like shit on by bureaucracy and just, I don't know, or like corporate power.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of like, man, he was onto something and he almost had it and he just kind of got fucked over. And I just love
he
seeing...
fucking blew it. It was his fault.
Oh, he
like
I mean, he did.
He did blow it.
like they blew it in episode 3, and like the Empire, like that's something that we didn't talk about, and that happened in this episode, was that the Empire came in and they're like, hey, like y'all are like hired police officers and you fucked up, so y'all can get the fuck out of here and we're gonna handle it from here.
Yeah. But he's got some very valuable information. That's the interesting part.
He keeps on looking at the holographic image of Cassian. Like he this dude is like, he's on a mission. Like he's not gonna he's not gonna give this shit up, which is what I like about Cyril. Like I want to see him in a bigger role in future episodes. But yeah, any final thoughts on episode 4 from you, Brian?
No, I thought it was a good, like I said, just like a good setup for this arc. Good introduction to characters, for sure.
Okay, so episode 5. This episode is like, I feel like it was like with these 3 episode arcs, like episode 2 and episode 5. It's just kind of like in the middle. They're definitely slower episodes, but they're definitely like interesting dialogue and interesting stuff happens. But they are a little slower, at least for me anyway. Episode 5 for me is like more or less they're getting Clem up to speed on the heist and they're doing a lot of training. We get another scary TIE fighter situation, like they have to cover up all the guns. We learn a little more about Cyril Karn, and I love that this episode opens up with him just enjoying a bowl of Cocoa Puffs and blue milk. Fucking classic. But what'd you guys think about this episode? Aaron, did you have any thoughts on episode 5?
Yeah, I do. This episode might have been a little bit slow, but I actually enjoyed... The main thing I enjoyed about this episode is kind of the more information that we got on the individual members of this kind of, bare bones crew. I keep forgetting his name, but it's the tech guy who has he's the young kid. The younger kid.
One. Yeah, no,
like
he has
Karis.
He's the one.
Karis.
Is that what it is? Is it Karis?
He's the one
Okay.
the one that has the manifesto.
Yes. I
The
love it. And yeah, the Polaroid like GPS navigation unit, it's so good, and I love his kind of like enlightenment thinker kind of character. It's so good for this time period, trying to get into and he uses this phrase, but like the political consciousness of like what's going on, and it's such an interesting way to talk about the time period through learning information about a character in the show. I love the guy.
And I feel like thinking about Cassian right now, he's like all for himself. He's not down with any cause. Like he knows he hates the Empire for sure. I'm pretty sure that's a conversation that happens in this episode. Like he hates the Empire. He will never side with them ever, but he's kind of for himself. And then I feel like him talking with this kid kind of like nudges him towards like, okay, like I have to do something more. If it worked towards the end of this episode or towards the end of his arc, I mean, to be decided, but I think this is where he starts to like turn a page.
Well, it's where you feel like he's going to. So I feel like that's more of an accurate way, because you're like, this is kind of what you want out of the whole show. Like you're trying to figure out, like, at least after the first couple episodes, you're like, we know in Rogue One, like Cassian becomes one of the most diehard members of the rebellion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get really any of that out of him throughout episode 7. Like you really don't get him giving a specific reason of like, well, we know just from the flashbacks of like why he hates the Empire, but he doesn't really like share that passionate disdain for the Empire with anybody else. Like he never really truly reveals his reason. He just it's like, I'm a mercenary, I'm getting paid for this.
That's a big part of this episode too.
Yeah, everybody kind of sharing. Well, it's more of like the original crew members being like, okay, well, we all know why we're here. We all know why we have faith in this cause. What's this guy's cause? And like, why is he here? Like, we weren't informed of this 3 days out from the mission. It also makes you wonder, like, why is Luthen so disconnected from this group of people.
Yeah.
Like, none of them know who Luthen is besides Vel, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird. You're like, why? Like, why is there this disconnect? And maybe it's because you want to cut off communication as much as you can when you're trying to stage a rebellion like this. Like, I don't know. I think it's a great episode. Kind of like you alluded to before. We talked about episode 4. I love the insight into Mon Mothma's domestic life, something we never really saw. In anything else Mon Mothma's ever been in prior to this, we kind of view her as like this highest power of the rebellion. Like, she is like the leader of everything. But now we're kind of getting this image of like, okay, well, how did she get there? Where did she come from? What was her life like? And she's living kind of this, probably more in later episodes, but she's living kind of this grandiose, high life. And she's having these fancy dinner parties, and she has servants, and, she's royalty almost. Yeah, she's a senator. And I don't know if it's in this episode, but there's a very, like, depressing scene with her. I don't know if it's episode 5 or episode 6. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
With her daughter?
I don't think it's with her daughter, but it's when she's like having this like, I want to pass this bill in the Galactic Senate, and there's just nobody there, and like people are leaving.
Yeah, no one's listening. I don't know if it's episode
listening.
5.
I think that was the most recent episode.
Was it 7? I think it's 5. By the way, it's like, it's very interesting to see like her in the state of the Senate being a senator when like the Senate's just kind of dead. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's there.
That just goes back to what, like, we were mentioning earlier, like, the grip that the Empire has on the whole galaxy is like, it's like kind of like, oh, well, why are you even saying this? It's not going to go through. Whatever you're saying, it's apathy. Like, why am I listening to this? It's like, like you're speaking nonsense, change. Which is so cool. I love it.
It's really good. It's a very interesting small time period between the transition from the Galactic Senate to the Galactic Empire, essentially, where it's like most people kind of have this idea that like not democracy still exists, but there still is like a system in place where there's like representation or like security, like some form of security where they do have freedom of thought, do have freedom of choice, but the people that really do know what's going on are like, no, this is not freedom, this is not democracy. Like and they say it all the time throughout the show. It's like, we are being choked slowly. Like, our freedoms are slowly being stripped of us. That's kind of going further into the season, I think. But I loved episode 5. I think it's a pretty good build-up to the whole mission. And then another Game of Thrones actor, right? Actress. Did we get her before in episodes 1 through 3?
Who, Vel?
Yeah.
I don't think Vel was in Game of Thrones.
She was. She was with Arya in the House of Black and White.
Oh, she's the waif.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was the waif.
She was the waif.
You didn't know? Dude, you didn't see that?
No.
I did way.
Not. I totally missed it. Holy shit.
Yeah, she's the waif.
Game of Thrones, folks, in Star Wars. Fucking fantastic.
And
when's Kit Harington coming around? Come on.
No.
No, we already have Gwendolyn Christie. We have we have every Game of Thrones alumni. Yeah, no, I mean
Daenerys.
Daenerys. Yeah. She was in Solo. Whoever their agent is, fucking, they're hooking them up for sure. Going from IP to IP. But yeah, Brian, any thoughts on episode 5?
Yeah, I really like this episode. I liked all the conversations that happened on Aldhani. Well, this episode was called "The Axe Forgets," right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like
but the tree remembers.
Yeah, and I thought that was so cool because it's like all these conversations about how the Empire has fucked these people over, and the Empire doesn't know them or remember them, but it's like they will never forget. And I thought it was so cool just to like get all these conversations about what are we without a cause, and like, why are you here? Why are we doing this? Obviously, Cassian has no hope for like a successful rebellion. Like, doesn't even cross his mind. He's just there to make some cash,
get paid.
Everyone else, at least in this episode, seems to have like a real reason or like driving force to like fight the Empire and try to bring it down. But yeah, just like the utter hopelessness is like really apparent, which is cool. And then I loved seeing Cyril just getting like just so demeaned by his mom. I thought that was just so funny.
I feel like she's like a classic baby boomer mom, you know? Like, I feel like she's down with the Empire. this happens in a future episode, but like they're watching the news and like the heist had happened, and she's like, they'll get him. Like they don't mean anything, you know. Like I feel like it was like a classic baby boomer watching Fox News or something, you know. It's like
Yeah.
that's how she comes off.
Those damn rebels.
Those damn rebels. Fuck.
But yeah, other than that, like all those conversations, yeah, like the kid's manifesto and like his whole quirkiness is interesting. And then yeah, seeing Mon Mothma with like her daughter and seeing that whole family dynamic and the struggles of being a senator in this time, like after the Empire has begun, but like the Senate hasn't been dissolved yet, and like Mon Mothma hasn't like sent out her speech to the universe that we see in Rebels. It's cool, and I'm curious about how much like kind of where this is in the timeline exactly.
5 ABY
Is this 5
or
ABY?
BBY?
BBY.
BBY. 5
yeah.
BBY.
This is only
That's from the
5
first
years.
episode. That's the first episode. It's 5 BBY. It says it like in like the first couple scenes. It's like on screen.
Oh, interesting. So this is like pretty close to the beginning
Rebels.
of it all.
Season 2 could legitimately just be like Rebels timeline, which makes sense
Yeah.
if
That'd be dope.
Saw Gerrera's coming in.
Cause
Saw Gerrera is already like older.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So it's funny to see that Mon Mothma is still like this involved right now. Like this is like what she's doing right before she's on the run, and is like, yeah. So I'm excited. I really enjoyed this episode because you really kind of get to see the perspective of everyone. You really see the differences between people who at least have some hope that they can make a better future versus those who are just like, I'm in it for myself. There's no hope of victory. I'm just here for the bag. So
For the bag, you did, yeah.
I'm literally here for the bag.
yeah, give me the credits. But yeah, I think it's a good like setup for episode 6.
I think for me, like just to add a couple more things, this episode pretty much ends like they're talking about the heist. They're training for the heist. They're finally like setting up outside the garrison for the heist. But we already briefly touched on it, but my favorite part of this episode for sure is when the team kind of starts to fall apart. I mean, if they even really were truly a team when they find out that Cassian's getting paid, I think this was probably the highlight of the episode for me, just because like it's an interesting like conversation between the two, because like we already kind of briefly mentioned, these guys are here for the cause and Cassian's just here to get paid, and they're not really sure where he aligns, even though he hates the Empire. You know, they find that out, like they try to kill him for it. They try to rob him of his Kyber crystal. It's just so interesting to see how everyone is really just kind of out for themselves. And at this point in the show, or at this point in the timeline, the rebellion just kind of feels really scattered. Like you could feel that there's a large group of people that truly hate the Empire, but there's no unity among them. There's no like singular focus among them, because they're just thinking about like, oh, I just got to survive at this point. It makes sense, you know, just because like there is no rebellion yet. There is no group for them to rally behind. But yeah, so like another thing I really like about the show is just the side characters. Everyone has something to say and everyone contributes in their own way, you know. The show is Andor, but honestly, a lot of the side characters, I'm like really invested in all their stories as well. So yeah, episode 5, it's solid. It's slower, but it's solid. I really like it. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but sometimes when I watch this episode, like so many things happen that are a little deeper and like I feel a little like heavier for Disney Plus, but like, I mean, sometimes I'm like, fuck, am I watching a show on like Hulu or HBO Max right now? Like, especially the quality of it. I'm like, this is great. And I guarantee it. Like, if the Mandalorian can make waves at the Emmys, this will fucking crush the Emmys, and I can't wait to see it happen. But sorry, Aaron, were you gonna say something?
No, don't apologize. No, I agree with you. I think one thing I really failed to talk about this episode is I love how Cassian just kind of like gets thrown into this rebel group where he's not totally unwelcome, but he's like unanimously pretty unwelcome, and he kind of just like shits on everybody. Like they didn't even know how they were going to get the fucking freighter off of the tracks. They're like, you seriously don't know how? Like, you have this whole planet, you don't even know how you're going to get the ship out of here? Like, no.
Are y'all
like,
crazy?
are you dumb? And then like when they were, I don't know if it's episode 5 or 6, but when they were practicing like marching as a soldier,
That was episode 5. Yeah.
he's like, no, you shoot that way, and they're like, oh man,
Oh yeah, and
he's way more value. Okay,
the way they were marching,
value.
the way they were marching, it was like, okay, if you are left-handed or right-handed, we need to switch sides, and they were not having it. But then like he explained to them, it's like, hey, well, like, doesn't it make sense that like if you're right-handed, you should be on this side, if you're left-handed, you should be on that side? Like I love that. Those little things are just so cool about the show.
And it's especially cool because you don't learn till later that one of them was a former stormtrooper.
Yeah,
and and like even they didn't like point that out, But there's definitely a lot of small things, even though it's like it's slow. There's a lot of small things. Things in this episode to appreciate.
And it's really cool to see how much Cassian like sees and like picks up super quick. Like this guy's like crazy observant.
He has so much awareness,
which was awesome.
I think that's simply his drive to like really stick it to the Empire.
And survival. It's both. I think it's both. Like survival and also like
growing up in the jungle.
Yeah.
With all that to say about episode 5, that brings us to episode 6, the end of the Aldani arc, or otherwise known as the heist, or the episode is officially titled The Eye. I want to start us off real quick. I don't know if you guys remember this. Some episodes ago, we talked about the final teaser for Andor, and we talked about how there was somebody online that said like they were negatively critiquing the trailer because some Imperial officers were drinking out of thermoses. They were drinking out of cups or whatever. Do you guys remember this? Aaron, I see your head nodding, Aaron. You remember this. Well, we finally got this scene. We got the Imperial officers drinking out of the thermoses. I just thought about that dude, and I was like, God, you fucking suck. And I bet
you talking about J-Hold?
I didn't drop the @ for this person. I didn't put him
J-Hold
on.
J-Hold is the one of the officers that's drinking with the other officer, right?
Like in the scene that I'm thinking about, there were like 3 or 4 Imperial officers that were drinking out of something. They looked like they were drinking out of like little hydro flask like cups.
Some Yetis.
Yeah, they were drinking Yetis out of something. I don't remember the names. It could be J-Hold. I don't know. You could be right. We finally got it. And I bet this person that said that, I want to see their review of Andor, because I want them to like see how dead ass wrong they were about this series, because I like the way that I see this person review stuff. I know they will love this show. Yeah, it was hilarious. Just see that real quick. Just opening thought. But for me, like, I mean, this is, simply put, this is an incredible episode of television. Like, straight up, just top tier Star Wars stuff. Like, the heist goes down right before it starts. I'm thinking to my head, this is fucking like, I don't know if you guys know what Murphy's Law is, but essentially what Murphy's Law says is that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I'm like, okay, there's no way this heist goes down smoothly. I was waiting for them to fuck up. I was like, where's the fuck up? When is it happening? Like, I mean, I guess there's no heist in like TV or movies that goes down smoothly, but I was just like, okay, what is the fuck up gonna be? Like, how are they gonna, like, how is shit gonna go like awry or whatever? But yeah, no, this episode was awesome. And before I go on, like, what did you guys think of this episode? Aaron, what did you think about it?
Fucking classic, man. And it's funny too, because before we started recording, I was like looking up like actors and actresses' names in Andor, and I just typed in Andor into Google. And of course, when you type in the name of a show, you're just gonna get all these random headlines of like, here's why Andor sucks, here's why Andor's good.
No fucking way. Oh my god.
I mean, no, but that is not verbatim. That's not verbatim, but it's depending on the news source. That's kind of how it goes. And it's like,
crazy how wrong those videos are, though.
Yeah, well, and one of the ones I saw was like, after episode 6, essentially, Star Wars is finally back in Andor. And I'm like,
when did it
ever leave? Yeah, exactly. Like, was it ever gone? Like, I don't know. It pisses me off when it just sounds like people are reviewing something that they don't like or know nothing about.
Negative stuff gets the clicks, though. I can see it.
Well, that's Fox News, CNN, but yeah, no, episode 6 was fucking fantastic. I mean, it's just a classic heist bank robbery kind of episode with way more stakes in terms like Star Wars stakes. They're just so high here. You see that amount of credits like in one particular location, you're like, fuck, man. This is the rebellion right here. These credits are literally the rebellion right here.
If they succeed.
This is the funding for it.
Yeah.
This is everything. And they only got like a tenth of it.
Yeah, no, a really small portion.
I also, on the flip side, I was like, okay, you guys are still paying people with physical money? Like, this is Star Wars. Like, where are the digital transactions at? Like, why are you paying people with physical money?
I am curious now that you bring it up, I am curious how much is actually in that vault. $1 billion, you think?
I think $1 billion.
Because it is a quarterly... This is how Luthen put it. He said it's like a quarterly amount of the Imperial's payroll. That's what he said. That's how he pitched it.
Quarterly payroll for one Imperial sector.
Ooh, for one Imperial Spectre. That is still a fuck ton of credits right there. By the end of this episode, you find out that they got away with, I think, 80 million. So I'm just curious because the fact that they just got away with just a small portion of it. Damn, like 80 million credits. You know? It's like...
And it's also funny too because we as like the audience, we don't really know how to like gauge how many credits
how
that
currency
is.
no, we don't know how like the price of stuff, you know? Like what's the cost of food? What's the cost of like general living expenses, you know?
How much do those blue noodles cost? Like how much do the blue fucking cocoa butters cost?
How much does a carton of blue milk cost? You know?
And like how much does a carton of blue cigarettes cost? Like I don't know. Like
death sticks.
Yeah. Hey, you want some death sticks? You don't want to sell me death sticks. I need some death sticks, honestly. I would love to like hop on some death sticks. I'll rethink my life afterwards, but let me try some death sticks.
I love it. I love everything about it. And as you were referring to earlier, like, all right, this thing's going to go awry somewhere. Like, it's going seemingly smooth. Like, this whole mission is going seemingly smooth, except that they're behind on time by a couple minutes or something. But
that's the other thing that's perfect about this episode. It's a race against time. That's what makes it, like, the stakes are high. That's what makes it tense. So, like, yeah, exactly, tense.
And you're like, okay, in a mission that's this well planned out, even though as you're hearing the mission being explained to you as the audience, you're like, okay,
you could have planned this better.
I mean, you could have planned it better, but like how precise the timing needs to be, 2 minutes is a lot. And you see that when the communications come back online for the Empire. Like that is literally those 2 minutes almost fucked this entire thing up. Like it had to be pinpoint, but I love it. I love having I forget the name of the people.
I'm gonna just say like the Aldani natives.
It's the Aldani natives, like the indigenous people. Like I love having them there, and I also do love the fact that like we have the Empire like consequently like guarding them to allow them to have this. They're more of like also observing them to make sure that they don't like try to plan like an attack on them or something. It's like
it's like their ceremonial thing, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll let you do this. It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, it's like because they want to turn them into their workers, right?
I think
it's what it feels like.
I think that's what they're talking about. They're like, this is all going to be gone, and we're going to use them.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. Fuckers, man.
That still comes down to the whole thing of like the Empire is doing all this stuff slowly. We're coming to the point where like this probably isn't the right word, but like prenatal rebellion is about to act like so fucking fast. Like they're like, okay, they're doing this slow. We need to hit them now. And it's a very small group of people. The episode's amazing, man. I mean, I think that's the big macro thing to talk about in this episode. The celestial event is just spectacular. Like even when you're watching like the indigenous people sit there, watch it, cry, enjoy, you're kind of like experiencing that with them. I still think that they were all doing ayahuasca at that time, or on acid or some shit, and they were just like, "What the fuck?" You know, like. But it's a part of the ritual, you know, like they drank some crazy fucking psychedelic milk or something before that. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's literally the Aurora Borealis on steroids. Frogs. It is the most phenomenal celestial spectacle.
Something I do want to say too. I forget the name, but the guy that we labeled as like the younger guy. I love that I feel like it was like an episode maybe like 4 or 5 where he talked about how the event itself, like from the ground, it's like a gorgeous, beautiful visual spectacle, but like in the skies, it is absolute chaos.
Yeah.
And that we get that, like we get like the Aldani, like indigenous folks witnessing it from the ground. In the sky, it's like we got TIE fighters chasing after them. Like we got them trying to escape. These things are just like crashing into the ships. And it's like this episode was it was absolute perfection. Like just the fact that it paid off what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Was
He went
very
Neil
cool.
deGrasse Tyson on it. Like he's just
Yeah.
straight broke it down scientifically, and he was just like, "This is what's happening up in the sky," and like the rest of the crew's just like, "Cool,
Sick.
All right, sick, dude.
good stuff,
Like,
dude."
but Brian, what did you think about this episode?
It was great. It felt like a movie. It like felt like a Star Wars movie, basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the third act. I really enjoyed how they just manhandled those like so annoying, like the Imperial family that's just like fuck these
Oh,
guys, you know.
My sash doesn't
And-
fit because
Yeah.
I'm fat.
Get me
Get
the
the
breastplate
expander.
stretcher.
Exactly.
You're torturing the poor boy.
Yeah, I had to say about that too. So I don't know, it was cool. It was like kind of cool to see that and to kind of see how, you know, even like the Imperials are just so out for themselves, like, you know, trying to get a better post, or like we want to be on a good detail where we can like see the eye, or, you know, whatever, and just seeing them get so easily like bamboozled by this little crew was awesome. Yeah, I loved their escape. That was really cool. Bummer that so many of them died, but kind of necessary, I feel like, for the plot. Like you gotta like
Yeah.
prune these branches of the
Trim the
story.
fat.
Exactly. And then I love how Cassian like shoots first and asks questions later, you know.
Of
Right when that
course.
guy was like, "Oh, you want to split the cash?" He's like, "Well, what about them?" And he's like, "You know, fuck them." And he's like, "All right, you're dead." And just like shoots him. I was like, "Damn fool." But it makes sense, like, you know, he's like, if I disagree, and then this guy could potentially turn on all of us, better to just kill him now. I thought that was cool to
Super
kind of see.
pragmatic.
Yeah, just to kind of see how he like he doesn't mind killing, just like for his own survival. It was a bummer that the kid died, but I think everyone kind of saw that coming.
Yeah, no. Once all the other team members just started dropping, it was like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't look that great.
But like, come on, you're such a smart kid, and you don't get out of the way. Crates, like you're just gonna be behind a crate. Like you
Just
understand
get crushed
physics?
by
Like,
crates.
Should I get crushed by a crate, dude? Come on.
Cassian still has the manifesto, though, right?
She wanted to give it to him. Did he take it?
Yeah. So like at the end, basically it's like Skeen. I mean, Skeen had grimy written all over him since his introduction to the show. Like
Yeah.
you could tell this guy was like,
Massive grime, dude.
yeah. I mean, he reminds me of the guy like in the Iron Islands when Theon came back. What's his name? He's just
Yeah,
hella.
no,
gr-
yeah, it's
Fucking
all.
great
I know what
choice,
you're
dude.
talking about.
yeah,
Great
hell,
vibes.
yeah, very Greyjoy vibes. You're like, fuck, this guy's fucking sleazy as fuck. They have that conversation, trying to split it, 40 million, something like that. Cassian's like, nah, I'm shooting first. Boom. As that's happening, like Cassian, it's weird because Cassian comes into like the surgery room with his pistol raised. And,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm seeing that, and I'm kind of like, why does he have his gun out like immediately? They don't even know what happened. But I guess it's just survival tactic. And
Like, just from final thoughts from episode 6 for me, from the heist just going all wrong, from the guy figuring out that their shit was being jammed, and then they finally got it up to speed. I was like, damn, like this shit is nuts. Very Rogue One of them to kill more than half the team that you made us like build like a little bit of an attachment to, through like 3 episodes, and then they kind of like betray each other. I'm just like damn, this shit is for real. It's like, damn, y'all are fucking crazy. But
you even get that from the Empire side, like the whole thing between Blevin and Daedra, like
Oh, yeah,
you
no.
got some split in the Empire, you know, and it's.
But yeah, no, I like that. I'm down to talk about that a little more, like once we get to episode 7, because like there are more like ramifications for that in the Empire. Again, it feels like from what I mentioned earlier, just feels like everyone's out for themselves, and like Skeen kind of confirms this when they escape Aldhani. Like you said, they go to the doctor. Like Skeen didn't even want to take him to the doctor. I'm pretty sure Cassian was the one that wanted to take him to the doctor, right? Like, and he wanted to save him, but then he was like, nah. And then, but it was like I mentioned, the rebellion isn't like, there are a lot of people in the Empire. It's like, it's either you're down for the Empire or you're not. But if you're not, you don't realize that people are also not down with the Empire. That's kind of what I'm getting from this. It's like the people are just not seeing eye to eye, even though they think the same thing. It's honestly awesome. Like, I love that. Because I know by the end of the season, well, either by the end of the season, well, it has to be by the end of the season, because by season 2, I feel like they have to be coming together. But by the end of the season, I feel like something has to happen where, like, it's like, okay, this is it. Like, we need to stop, like, fighting each other. Just fucking fight the Empire.
I think it's going to be, just to throw this out there, like Brian was saying, like, it's going to be the total dissolution of the Senate. That's going to be where the rebellion is going to be like, okay, Emperor has literally complete control now. We have to band together. But they're not everybody's going to understand that.
Agreed.
And I think you make a really good point, Joe, where it's like all these rebel-minded people all have very different perspectives and reactions to like what should be done, which gives so much weight to like how important and hard it was for a rebellion, an organized rebellion, to even happen, which is really cool. I think it gives like a really good kind of like backstory to A New Hope, or like backdrop to A New Hope,
or even just a real life events. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna go into specifics, obviously, but like even like real life, like kind of like saying fuck you to the establishment, not even just in the world, you know.
But okay, any final thoughts on episode 6?
Fuck Skeen.
Fuck Skeen. Like, I get you were down with the cause, but fuck Skeen.
You're a bitch. I don't fuck your tattoos. I don't care how many fucking clans you've been with, how many tribes you've been down with. Like, you're a bitch. I'm down to move on.
All right. Let's do episode 7. Now, that was episodes 4 through 6. That was the Aldhani arc. Very fun arc. Now, I believe episode 7 is the beginning of a new arc, and that is I don't know how to pronounce this planet. I'm going to say Neamos arc. Essentially, this episode is dealing with the fallout of the heist. I love the fact that Deidre, the Imperial officer that we keep on mentioning, like the fact that the way that the Empire is reacting, and this is probably the most important part of the episode, is how the Empire reacts to the events of Aldhani. And they talk about that a lot. Deidre is the only one that sees, like, look, this is a huge problem. Like, why aren't you guys actually dealing with this? But at the same time, it's like she sees them reacting to it as more just like a quote-unquote robbery, but they don't see it as being, I feel like the Empire doesn't see it being as like a big of deal as it really is.
They call it an announcement.
Exactly.
That's how she
refers
it to.
That's how she refers to it. It's an announcement. It's like, okay, like the rebels are here. This is like their first like big time move. And I thought that's the title of the episode. It's titled Announcement. And I thought I was like, damn, this is that's fucking tough. Like, the rebels are like making their presence known. Like, the fact that she's the only one that sees it, like, you gotta respect it. You find yourself like siding with her in this episode just because
I hated it. I hated it.
I
was
hate
like, why am I rooting for somebody in the Empire?
Like,
why?
Like, she's so smart. Like, that's the only reason why you have to agree with it. Just because, like, no, she's right.
I couldn't help myself. I was like, dude,
she knows what's going on.
I love this shit.
But yeah, no. What did you guys think about episode 7?
I mean, from my enthusiasm for my previous little statement, I just thought it was crazy that I was rooting for there's a conflict within the ISB, and I'm rooting for somebody in the ISB. I just thought that's like so well done from a writing and like a directing aspect. That's fucking awesome.
It's because everybody's like shooting her ideas down. It's like, no, like, she's right. Like, you
guys, I might have like alternative means to get the information that I need, but I have the information, and yes, I'm going off of gut instinct, but my gut instinct is true. And she has that assistant. I don't know the assistant's name.
I
That's
forget
kind
the
of like
assistant, yeah.
like reaffirming her, like kind of like, hey, don't lose sight. Like you have that gut instinct, like, and I agree with you. Like you know what's going on, and nobody else does. And you finally get this scene in this episode where Kyburn's character is like she wins the battle between her and Blevin in the ISB, and you're like, holy shit. After he says, take a walk with me, and all he says is, watch your back. You're like,
Yeah.
okay. That's basically the end of the episode. I'll rewind a little bit, but that shit was so fucking good. I also do love, and I think we kind of failed to talk about it a little bit, fucking Karn's new job is...
Oh, yeah. Shouts to Cyril getting a new job. Like, good for him. You know?
I swear there's going to be some shit, though. Like, he is going to...
No, he has to come back in the fold. He has to come back in the fold.
It's going to be, like, it's such good timing, too. Mon Mothma, bad fucking ass in this party scene, like this dinner party scene. So fucking good. Like, and I don't know if she made the right call trusting this guy, her childhood friend. Like, it seems like that's in the right, but I don't know. Like, we just don't know enough about this guy as the audience to be like, oh yeah, you made the right decision. I don't know. And it's so good because you're like, fuck, Mon. Like, you're basically, what's the word? You're cryptically telling this guy, like, I'm a bigger rebel than you. Like, they have this, like, weird conversation of, like, I'm a bigger rebel than you.
Yeah. Okay, let me stop you right there. I want to get back to that real quick. I want to get back to that real quick. But the fact about Mon Mothma, I'm a huge fan of Mon Mothma right now because I don't know if I mentioned this, like, in episode 4 or something earlier. But Mon Mothma, the way that they're building her character out is really great. In the opening, like, 20 minutes or so of this episode, Mon Mothma goes to Luthen at the store, and she was not down with the heist, like, at all. She was like going to him, it's like, was this you? Like, did you do that? Did you do this? And it was like an interesting conversation between them because, like, Luthen was like, okay, we need the push, you know? And, like, it's almost like in this conversation, you're like, okay, well, where does Mon Mothma really stand for this? You know, it's like you know that Luthen is, like, full in on the rebellion. He's like, what Luthen says, he's like, we need the push. We need them to, like, not just say that this is a robbery, like some small time shit. Like, we need them to, like, overreact to the scenario. And that's why Luthen put this plan in place. Like, we need them to show the Empire, or we need to show the people that the Empire will, like we need to show them how oppressive they really are. You know, like...
Well, and it's also primarily about financing. Like, that is we need some money, boys.
It's like we lost a small amount of money, and now we're like, okay, we're gonna lock down this, and that, and the other, just for a statement. I think Mon Mothma understood it by the end of this conversation. But Brian,
she's struggling. She's like struggling with collateral damage, basically.
Yeah,
because it's like she knows that the Empire has to stop slowly, you know, having a chokehold and just like choke hard down, so that a rebellion can even happen. But she's also struggling with how many people are going to suffer because of it. I think you're right. Like, the way that they're able to show her things really builds out her character super well. And you kind of get, like, you get why she's such a good leader. Because she still cares about people, is fully committed to the cause. Whereas Luthen is, like, by any means necessary, like, don't even really care if they're suffering. Like... just such a
it's
picture.
If there is suffering, it's like necessary suffering. That's where Luthen's head is
like
at.
Good. Yeah, he's like, we want people to suffer so that they will.
So that they wake up type situation. Yeah.
But no, this episode was great. I loved how, like, the first, like, half of the episode you don't even get Cassian. It just shows how deep the supporting cast is of the show.
Yeah.
Which I love.
The side characters are so good.
It's so strong. It's so well done. I'm excited to see all those plot lines, like, get fleshed out in the rest of the season, and maybe how they kind of come together. But yeah, I loved the whole ISB, you know, internal politics. I think that's really cool, and I'm really hopeful that we'll get more of Mon Mothma and, like, how she responds to what's going on, and maybe, you know, makes the next big step. And I'm interested to see what happens with Luthen, because he's like, he kind of wants Cass dead now, because like he wants to clip those loose ends, which is interesting. Yeah, I thought the whole gas on this like party planet was super funny, and then you get like the robot that you see in Rogue One. I don't know if it's the same one, but security droid, and just how menacing it is, which is cool. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm interested to see if he's gonna, because he gets arrested at the end. Like, is the rest of the season, is it gonna be like a prison break arc, or is it gonna be like he gets instantly swooped, or like does he even go to jail, or does something happen? And I'm curious about that. But I thought this was a great post heist episode. Yeah, so far I'm just loving this show a lot.
Something that happens kind of like in the midst of this episode is the relationship between Cassian and his mom, or quote unquote mom, Marva. Yeah, Marva. This is like one of the fallouts, or one of the things that happens after he officially has the money from the heist. He also meets up with Bix. Like, he tries to like smooth things over with Bix, but he tells Marva that's like, hey, like, I scored. I finally have some money. Like, we can go. Like, we can get out of here. And the thing about Marva is that I'm pretty sure, like, even from like the first couple episodes, I think she was already kind of like in the rebellion state.
Yeah.
But we find out in this episode that she like she was always down with the rebellion, but couldn't really do anything about it. Like, when she realizes that, oh, like, people are standing up. That's what she says. People are standing up all across the galaxy, and they are like doing things like this to the Imperial garrison on Aldhani. That like inspired her to come back and like be in that rebellion state. So much to the fact where she was like, no, I'm not leaving Ferrix. You offered to leave Ferrix, but I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna fight the Empire. And before fucking Cassian leaves, like, she picks up a gun off her table. She's like, I'm pulling up the Thule. I'm about to, like, this shit's about to go down. Like, what the fuck you mean you want to leave? I thought that was really great. But
and the irony that he was part of the heist and she doesn't know.
He was part of it, and he didn't say a thing.
She probably knows, though. She probably knows. She just doesn't say anything about it,
Yeah. So I always thought that, like, the relationship with Cassian and Marva was always interesting, just because like I think it's a little predictable, but something has to happen to Marva I think that has to be one of the driving forces for Cassian. Like, something has to happen to her, something tragic. I would love that.
And he'll probably have to struggle with the guilt of being like, me doing this in Aldhani is the catalyst for her acting all rebellious again.
Yeah.
So
and probably her death.
Yeah. I feel like my guess is that he's going to be like, fuck the rebellion, this is why my mom died. And then he's going to have some conversation with someone to like change his perspective and be like, no, like, she was right. And I need to fight the Empire, like, in her honor. That's like my guess for his character arc.
I feel like that's the most likely outcome, but if it happens, like, that's like good fan theory. Like, I would love to see that happen. But just to go back real quick to, because my favorite scene from this episode was Mon Mothma's conversation with Tay Kolma. That's the guy. That's her childhood friend. And Brian, I don't know if your older brother, listens to this pod, but I read a tweet from him, and he was saying how Tay Kolma is like his new favorite character just because his name is Tay. I was like, sick, dude. I love that. But this conversation is fucking amazing, just because like they're like talking like they're childhood friends, and then they start talking about like I don't know if you'll agree with my politics, it's like, and then they go on to just this conversation. Like, she starts essentially, like, quote unquote, spilling the beans. She's like, oh, like, I'm doing this, that, and the other. I'm raising some money. Like, some of my like personal accounts are locked up, and I want you to help me out with it. And he's like, oh, well, what are you raising money for? He's like, oh, well, I can't tell you. But I want you to be the chairman of all this. I just love that, just because, like, something that Mon Mothma says that really stuck out to me and kind of almost changed the perspective of how I was looking at the show as far as Mon Mothma's character. This is like, think about Palpatine during the prequel trilogy and what he was doing in secret for the Empire. You know,
He's funding the Separatist army.
He's funding the Separatist army and
the clones at the same time.
And the clones at the same time, and no one knew what was going on. And for me, I was just like, okay, Mon Mothma is the rebels' answer to Palpatine. Like, this is like the beginning of that. And
She's
I was
the
like,
highest order. She's literally the highest order.
she's the highest order, and she literally says that. She says in this scene talking to Taekoma, she was like, I learned a lot from Palpatine. And she is like essentially doing the same thing he was doing, but for the rebels. That is the coolest fucking like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, no, it's essentially like this era of Star Wars is essentially like politicians learning from other politicians. Like, okay, you succeeded at like taking over galaxy. Okay, well, I know what you did. I'm gonna just do the same shit, but like for the other side. And I just think that's genius. Well, it's like it's a side of Star Wars that we never seen before. Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw it with Palpatine, but yeah, we've seen it with Palpatine, but it's like for a side that we're like, we love to see it happen for.
It's almost like Mon Mothma was saying, like, look, I know you got side ventures, but I got some side ventures, and I'm telling you kind of cryptically, but like, you should probably side with me and, you know, fund me, because he's a banker, right? He's a banker.
Mm-hmm.
The banking claim was on your treaty. It's like, dude, side with me, because if you don't, you will lose in the end. Like, that is essentially what I got out of all of that. And she's fucking so badass, man.
This conversation, she's so good at it. Like, shouts to the performance too. Like, this actress is phenomenal, and like, she's like, okay, like, hey, we're gonna talk, but people are gonna be watching us, so make sure you smile a little bit. You know, it's like, hey, my husband's coming into the room. Why don't you smile a little bit? Damn, that's fucking hard. You know, it's like, that is so sick.
Space.
Yes, dude.
It's like, put on a little smile. Like, don't act so nervous. Like, come on. I'm like, damn, that is fucking tough. I love that.
The script is written so well too. Even just like the little thing of like, the husband comes back and the husband's like, May I steal my wife back? We have a couple guests that require special handling. I'm like, dude, next time, the first time I ever have a party with guests, I'm going to use that verbiage, because that shit was sick. Hey, we got some people we don't really like here, but they, you know, require special handling. It's good. I love it.
Okay, so the actress who portrays Mon Mothma is Genevieve O'Reilly, and she was also Mon Mothma in Rogue One. So
she was.
She was.
Oh,
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, no, she's oh man, fantastic in this episode. The whole conversation with Taekoma, like, I can't get over it. It is just a showcase. You know.
When you want to talk about powerful actresses, man, I mean, even at the end when Vel talked to, I don't even know her name, but the chick that's working with Luthen.
Oh yeah, no, they're out for fucking Cassian now.
I feel like the dark-haired chick, I don't even know her name, but I feel like she has a lot more power. Like, she's probably more powerful than Luthen.
Cinta?
I don't know what Cinta. No,
yeah.
not Cinta. Not Cinta. She's the one that acts as like kind of like the receptionist in the shop, in Luthen's shop.
Oh yeah,
has, like the Mandalorian armor.
Yeah. Damn, I forget who she is, but she's also like, I feel like she will have a role to play in the future.
I feel like Clea. It is Clea. Yes, it's Clea. I feel like she literally has the attitude of like doing what needs to be done. Like, she is that on steroids.
She's like the hand.
Yes.
For Luthen.
Damn. But what an episode. But anyway, that brings us to like the final like 8 or 5 to 10 minutes. Cassian is on vacation. He fucking goes to Florida or Bora Bora or whatever the fuck. He's like, all right, I have these credits. I'm gonna forget about the rebellion. I'm gonna get like I'm gonna just live. He thinks he can escape the Empire, but he can't, because the Empire is there. And like fucking Cassian is just taking a nice casual stroll. Like his lady told him, it's like, hey, like you need to go to the store. You need to pick up some stuff for us. He's like, all right, I'll go to the store. It's all good. But I don't trust the girl he's with. For starters, I don't trust who she's with. She probably knows where those credits are. Like, I mean, Cassie's just hiding those credits just on top of the shower. Like, you don't think, yeah, on top of the shower head. You don't think she knows where those credits are. Like, probably by the time he gets back, those credits are gonna be gone. But just because, like, you know, the state of the galaxy right now, everybody's fucking stealing fucking credits. But anyways, this dude, you know, he gets arrested by one of the droids that looks like K2SO. We already know the type of droids, but like I don't think this was like the K2SO. No. Mostly because I watched this with captions, and for one, the voice was very deep, and then like the captions, the name of the droid, the name of the droid wasn't K2SO, but I think this is like at least this arc will be how. Maybe possibly how the droid gets reconfigured to be K2SO. Like there might be another droid. Like that would make the most sense to me, I think. Like how they link up in the first place. But I think the entire time of the Niamos arc will be him in jail because they fucking sentenced him to like 6 years from like, and how fucking ridiculous is that? Like this sentence for whatever he did, like disturbing the peace or whatever, used to be 6 months, but now it's 6 years. Like, damn, my guy wasn't even doing anything. Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? This is a shitty judge.
Yeah, he fucked up. Like, there was some shit going on with other people, and he just got freaked out because he has PTSD, and he started running. Like, if he just acted calm and just sat there on the beach, like, he would have been fine, man. I mean, Cassian fucked up. He fucked up big time. Like, he put himself in that situation.
He should have just sat down.
Just sat down.
Yeah, why did you have to look over your shoulder
down,
and be all sketchy? It's like you're on vacation. Like, don't try looking over your shoulder or anything like that.
But I do think, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I have a good feeling that droid is going to be K2. Because, I mean, he's about to go to prison, and I feel like the reason why he gets out of prison is because of K2.
Yeah. Yeah,
and he
that'll make the most
reconfigures
sense.
the fucking droid. You know what I mean?
Or he gets help in prison. I don't know Cassian's abilities yet. I don't know if he's like droid savvy yet.
I think,
but maybe we will see that in this arc.
But he had that droid, his mom's droid, that he probably tinkered with.
Oh yeah.
No, because his mom's droid, Marva and B2, right? That's the name of his droid. When they rescued him as a kid, they already had that droid.
But he's like been with the droid,
right? But he probably he's probably
like studied it a little bit.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Also made me really sad when B was like, "Can I speak now?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, dude, come on, let B speak. Come on,
let B speak, dude. It's like come on.
It's like can that gets like bigger and smaller.
Oh,
he like shrinks down a little bit. And I'm like, come on, droids are the best. We mentioned this a million times before, but Star Wars really likes to make you feel for the droids. But yeah, so we're on Niamos now. We're at the beginning of the Niamos arc. Yeah, that's pretty much how it ends. Fucking Cassian gets arrested. I guess we'll see how it goes in episodes 8 and 9. But any other thoughts on episode 7 from you guys? Aaron?
I think someone else is going to rewire one of the K droids.
Of course, yeah.
To break Cassian out. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But overall, like the state of the show right now. So I basically watched I binged 1 through 3. I waited and I binged 4 through 7. I'm kind of sad I didn't keep up with it, week to week. But at the same time, like I kind of binged 2 arcs perfectly.
Yeah.
Just left off into the next arc, and it's good, man. I mean, I think like the trailers. Pretty much all of the trailers were just the second arc, and we didn't really get much else.
We haven't seen Saw Gerrera yet. I think that'll be the third arc, or the final arc. That's got to be the final arc.
And I can't wait to see Saw Gerrera. I mean, we kind of already know like what his attitude's going to be like because we've seen Saw Gerrera while he was still on. Oh my God, it was even in KOTOR. I forgot the planet.
Kashyyyk?
No, not Kashyyyk. Like his home planet.
Jeddah? Oh no,
Not
his
Jeddah.
home planet. Then I don't know.
I'll remember. Look it up.
Wait, it was in KOTOR 1 or 2?
It was in KOTOR and it was also in Clone Wars.
KOTOR 1 or 2?
It was in 2.
Malachor 5? I don't know.
My
Dantooine?
No. My main point is that we see him from his like kind of like adolescent years. Like we've already seen that before, and we've also seen him like at his end, like in his just full fuck the Empire. Like I'm the most radical rebel there is here. I'm interested to see what we're gonna see in Andor. I'm assuming it's gonna be like the most radical rebel that we have, but we'll see. I just want to see Forrest Whitaker, man. I mean, he's so good. It's Saw Gerrera. It's fucking perfect.
What about you, Brian? Anything else from episode 7?
Not really anything specific from episode 7. I think just overall, really happy with what they've done with this show. Really excited to see all these other characters and these arcs. And I guess another prediction I have is that Vel is going to be the one to help break out Cassian because he's a loose end and can't have him.
She will break him out mostly to kill him.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's like, if Luthen finds out that he's in the hands of the Imperials, that's bad. Then my guess is that people are cut directions, and then he somehow gets the protection of K2SO. That's what I want to see.
That would be sick. But, and it is Vel, or it will be the one that asked Vel, "Where's Cassian?"
Clea.
You know, yeah, Clea. So we'll see about that. And then K2SO helps. Oh man, that'd be so fun. That'd be such a satisfying ending to the Nyamos arc.
Yeah, it's kind of like the small rebel cell, if you can even call that. They are looking at Cassian as a liability now, even though he is literally the most beneficial thing that they have right now. It's a very interesting kind of dynamic, you know.
Right.
Onderon. That is
Onderon.
It's Onderon.
I do love Onderon. Onderon is a nice planet. But okay, I think that'll do it for all of us on episode 103. That was a good pod, you guys. Very fun. I'm thinking maybe episode 104 could possibly be Tales of the Jedi is next. We'll probably talk. We'll probably talk Tales of the Jedi. All the good. Yeah, no, well, like all the shorts drop all at once, so we'll probably talk Tales of the Jedi in episode 104. But until that pod, I mean, thanks for listening. If you made it this far. Make sure to follow the Kyber Culture on YouTube and TikTok, as well as our other socials. All the links are in the description. And until then, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Joe, you did it!
I fucking did it. I remembered.